Hey guys, it's Dr. Justin Marcagiani. Hope you're having a phenomenal day. Today's talk is going to be on histamine and gut issues. So essentially, histamine is this neurotransmitter-like compound made from an amino acid called histidine, which actually is an essential amino acid. There's only 9 of them. That's an amino acid your body cannot make itself. It has to get in from food. There's 9 of them. Tryptophan, phenylalanine, histidine, glutamine. It's 4 other ones. Glycine. Can't think of them all, but that's at least half of them. So in general, histamine is going to be produced, especially when there's an environment of inflammation in the gut. So when we have a high amount of calprotectin, which is a protein that's produced by the white blood cells in our gut in response to interleukins, nuclear factor kappa beta, cytokines, all these inflammatory compounds, your body is going to produce more histamine as a result of inflammation. And your histamine bucket or your inflammation bucket tends to start to get overflown, if you will. All right. And when that histamine bucket or inflammation bucket starts to get overflown, you're going to respond to more histamines in your diet. So the big, more common histamines are going to be like aged meats, bacon, even fermented foods like kombucha, sauerkraut, fermented pickles. It could even be things like citrus, avocados. It could even be things like nuts and seeds. So these are common. And then you have your diamine oxidase, which is the enzyme blocker, the enzyme that metabolizes histamine. Things like tea and coffee and all that can affect histamine blocking enzymes as well. So histamine becomes more of an issue when we have an environment of inflammation. So that could become from foods. That could be coming from poor digestion and breakdown of those foods, low bile salts, low stomach acid, low enzyme production. It can also come from over sympathetic nervous system tone, which is going to, of course, disrupt the enzymes, disrupt the bile salts. It's going to disrupt peristalsis and our natural motility of moving fecal material through the intestinal tract. And then we'll start to have slower motility. We'll start to reabsorb a lot of our fecal debris. It's called autointoxication. Now, when we start to have more compromised immune issues because our IgA, that immune mucosal barrier that lines our intestinal tract, starts to decrease because of inflammation, because of food allergens, because of low stomach acid, because of dysbiotic bacterial overgrowth. Remember, 80% of our immune system is in our stomach, the GALT, gastric associated lymphoid tissue, and our MALT, which is mucosal associated lymphoid tissue in the small intestine. So when our immune system comes down, more food allergens, worse breakdown, and now we're open to infections like H. pylori, fungal overgrowth, different parasites like Blastocystis hominis or Giardia, Cryptosporidium, Entamoeba histolytica, Dientamoeba fragilis. The list goes on, right? And these compromise our immune system. These are stressors that go in our inflammation or histamine bucket. And now all the histamines in our diet, such as the citrus, such as the avocado, such as the aged meat, such as the really good, healthy fermented foods, now these become a stressor for us. And now we start getting headaches. Now we start getting itchy. Now we start getting brain fogged because of these type of foods. So now what's the solution? In the meantime, we want to cut down the histamine. So the citrus, the avocado, the aged meats, the fermented foods, even though some of them are really good for us, we want to cut them down. We want to work on getting our gut back on track and follow the 6 R's that I outline in many different videos and podcasts. Remove the bad foods, replace the enzymes and acids, repair the hormones, adrenal, thyroid, female or male hormones, and repair the gut lining. 4th R is remove the infections. 5th R, repopulate good, healthy probiotics. We may even use low histamine probiotics too. 6 R, retest, make sure infections are gone. Sometimes things like B6 can be really helpful at helping to reduce histamine naturally. We may do diamine oxidase enzymes from kidney tissue, which is an enzyme that helps break down histamine. We may even use things like bromelain and stinging nettle and vitamin C and quercetin to actually help lower our histamine levels as well. So this is a live Q&A. I'm doing this, no notes, no cue card. This is off the top of my head because I do this 12 hours a day with patients, so I have to own my stuff. So I'm going to do a live Q&A here now where we start to do some questions on top of this. So feel free and chime in, you guys. I am just finished putting my son down, so of course I'm doing this a little bit later than I normally would. Anyone wants to chime in and feel free. Irma says hello. No questions yet, y'all. If that's the case, I'll be back tomorrow morning. So I'm going to wrap it up here tonight. Histamine, get to the root cause of the inflammation, get to the stomach acid issues, get to the inflammation bucket under control, get to the root underlying infections. And if we have to, we can use therapeutic nutrients and herbs and botanicals and enzymes to help bring our histamine down. A couple of questions came in. Tina Gwynn writes in, histamine blood plasma was 37, now 18, or now 19, ranges 0 to 8. Should I avoid overall very high histamine foods? Now, the question is, do you have any high histamine symptoms, Ty? Do you notice the citrus? Do you notice the fermented foods? Do you notice you get brain foggy when you eat these higher histamine foods, aged meats, etc.? If you're not noticing that, I would just keep it to a paleo or an autoimmune paleo template while you're digging through those 6 R's I mentioned. Why are histamine in avocados? It's just how it is. It's just the content of avocado has more histamine in it. Not sure, you'd have to ask God the reason for that one. Roshan writes in, why does a thick white coating on a tongue in the morning indicate? Oh, if we have a thick white coating on the tongue, that's typically going to be more of a thrush, typically a candida overgrowth. And I see it quite frequently. Patients that have, let's just say, candida overgrowth tend to also have potential histamine issues because it's a gut stressor. It goes into that gut stress bucket. See any other questions here? Someone wrote in, they deleted it, but I'll read it anyway. What supplements can you recommend for man boobs? Well, estrogen metabolizing compounds. So like your green vegetables are going to have lots of cruciferous compounds like diindole methane, indole 3-carbinol, a lot of cruciferous sulfur-rich compounds that help with estrogen metabolism. Also sulfur amino acids, so that help with methylation, glutathione precursors, cysteine, glutamine, glycine. All of these amino acids help run our detoxification pathways, which help conjugate, bind up estrogens and extract and then basically escort them out of the body. We can also do binders such as fibers, soluble fibers. In my line, we use one called True Fiber that is made with all plant fibers that can help bind up some of these things and escort them out. But also we want to make sure that we're not consuming hormones in our meats, antibiotics, growth hormones, a lot of the junky hormones they're given to these sick animals to make them bigger so they can get more money per pound, essentially. Histamine affects both food and environmental allergies. It can. When you have more inflammation in our body, remember, 80% of our immune system's in our gut. So when our immune system becomes stressed from inflammation, it becomes hypersensitive and it starts to, someone knocks on your door, it's your neighbor wanting a cup of milk, you show up to the door with a gun ready to pounce, right? Because you're hyper responding. This is what your immune system does to other types of allergens in the environment. So if you already have like mold in your house, you're eating gluten, maybe you have inflammation, maybe you already have a high histamine bucket, and then another invader comes in, you're hyper responding. It could be dander or even just something like cedar, and you're over responding. Drinking wheatgrass juice powder significantly quickly reduces white coating on the white tongue. What could be the connection? Not sure. I mean, it's not high in sugar, so it's definitely not going to be feeding the candida or yeast. I would look at other things that are potentially in your environment that you may also be doing as well. If you're cutting carbs and dropping that kind of stuff, that's going to be helpful. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's some type of antifungal compound or metabolite in that wheatgrass that's helping to kill it. Irma writes in, how do you get your body to process sulfur better? I notice I get excessive gas and bloating with cruciferous vegetables. Well, a lot of those cruciferous veggies that get you more bloated or more gassy, they tend to be higher in fermentable carbohydrates. So if you already have gut issues, Irma, like bacterial overgrowth or SIBO, you may be more likely to have bloating and gas from those things. Now, one thing is just make sure they're cooked. If cooking helps, that may break down some of the other harder to digest fibers, and then up enzymes and HCl. If that does it enough, then that's good. If not, if you're still having a hard time with these fermentable carbs, there may be some bacterial overgrowth. You want to work on addressing and knocking that down. That may help significantly. All right. Any other questions? All right, guys, I'm going to be back tomorrow. Oh, one more question here. Off topic, did I see correctly that you have a recipe for homemade elemental formula? I have one in the members area. It's from Natasha Campbell McBride. No, I'm sorry. It's from Allison Seebecker. And that one is made with honey, MCT or coconut oil, and then Jomar amino acid 21 formula. I've been actually using more of the physician's elemental diet from Integrative Therapeutics. I feel like that's a little bit easier and tastes better. The one that Allison Seebecker recommended tastes hard because the amino acids are pretty sulfury. So I like that. IKO writes in, I have a high zonulin score. Seems like I get very dizzy with high histamine foods. Yeah, you got a leaky gut. Got a leaky gut, dude. We got to get to the root cause of that. There could be an infection. There could be low stomach acid. You just may have a poor diet. It's hard to say. I already answered Roshan's question. That's candida and yeast issues. Dr. J, did you ever have high histamine, and what did you do to get rid of it so it's in the normal range? I never had high histamine. Now I see lots of people with lots of gut issues and they don't have histamine. So obviously there's a genetic predisposition for histamine actually being a problem, right? Not everyone gets it. Other people have FODMAP issues. They have gluten sensitivity. They have other issues that are going on. And it may not be histamine that's actually causing the problem. Amy writes, and Dr. J, keep up the awesome work. Love all your info. Your ginger tea is the best. Awesome, Amy. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you. T-Bone writes in, the 21 blend formula has MSM in it. Is that fine to digest? Yeah, I have no problem. Methyl sulfonyl methane, that's really good. Irma writes in, the dextrose-free elemental diet tastes good. Yeah, it does, Amy. That's why I use it. I find it tastes a lot better, and it's just easy, and the amino acids are all free, and there's some other minerals and nutrients in there too. Amy writes back in, ideas on how to deal with chin breakouts, hormonal. So first off, Amy, I would make sure your diet's really good, right? Kind of a paleo-esque template. Make sure you have your carbohydrates in check. So, you have your low, like non-starchy vegetables, and then you have like your starches and your fruit. So figure out kind of what your ratio is. If you're more sedentary, then do more veggies, less fruit and starch. If you're more active, you can do a little more fruit and starch, a little more vegetables, and then a little less, veggies on top of that. That's number one. Number two, if you feel like your diet's in check and you're digesting your foods really well and you're breaking it down and your bowel movements look good and you're not bloaty or gassy, then we got to look at the hormones. We got to look at estrogen progesterone balance, especially if you know that it happens during PMS time. Got to look at the hormones. And then if you answered negatively to any of the questions about digestion, bloating, gas, or just your stools don't look good, or there are a lot of food particles in there, then we got to look deeper at the gut. So kind of one of those two areas are going to be the big things, and it could be both too. Rashawn writes in, not sure you answer this. Is suppressing histamine with antihistamines like Zyrtec a bad thing? Well, these like 5-HT1 blockers, it's just fixing the symptom. I mean, it's not getting to the root underlying issue. So you'll end up needing that medication for life and or having to increase the dose. And there's side effects of these medications. A lot of the antihistamine medications, they make you really drowsy. So they're not fixing the issue and they're putting stress on your energy pathway. So that's not good. IKO writes in, what's the probability of low stomach acid causing leaky gut? It's significant. Now, why is the stomach acid low? Is it because of sympathetic stress from lifestyle stress, from a poor diet, from poor sleep? Is there a weakened immune system and an infection? So you got to get to the root cause of all of those things. So when I deal with patients and I'm recommending supplements, we always draw the line. What's root cause on one side and what's palliative and just supports the symptoms in a non-drug-like manner, meaning, hey, drugs kill 100,000 people taken correctly. So if we can use a supplement or an herb or a vitamin or mineral, it's at least better than using a drug, even if it's just palliative. But we always, on the other side, look at what the root cause is. Andre writes in, you mentioned stewed veggies if carnivore to help the gut. Why is that? Well, because vegetables have anti-nutrients in them. Go check out Dr. Stephen Gundry's book where he talks about anti-nutrients in plants, whether it's phytates or oxalates or various anti-nutrients that are pretty rough on the gut. So cooking these foods does help break down some of these anti-nutrients and makes it easier to digest. Irma writes in, T-Bone is made out of Integrative Therapeutics. It's $125 a bag. Yes, it is, Irma. Yeah, it's expensive, but it's the best stuff on the market. Absolutely. And we recommend that to people that have IBD or just significant malabsorption, just because it really helps get the nutrients up and it's just easy on the gut. When you're breaking down protein, 50% of that energy goes into the digestive process. So if someone already has compromised digestion, it's great to give them nutrients that they can access. Imagine, buying something on your credit card and paying a 50% transaction fee. That's kind of expensive. So if we can give nutrients that are already bioavailable, it makes it a lot easier on the gut and promotes the body going into a more parasympathetic healing state. Okay. All right, guys, I'm checking out. I'll be back here tomorrow morning, so stay tuned for more great information. Put down in the comments what you want me to talk about tomorrow. Let me know. I appreciate it. And then head over to the Thyroid Reset Summit, thyroidresetsummit.com. Make sure you subscribe. Give me a thumbs up and share. Appreciate it. And you guys have a phenomenal night. We'll talk soon. Take care.